That. And I think that's one of the things that really happens here at Trinity. Uh, with the name Trinity and thinking of how God relates to us and to God, hopefully we spend less time focusing on explaining or defining God, but more time on living in relationship with God and also with His power and in His power with each other. So kind of thinking of that relational thing. Then we have the other three guiding principles, and the second one is preach and teach the good news to everyone. Well, I don't know about you, but 2021 was a year when I could not get enough good news. There was so much not good news out there. And used to think of good news as happy news, but my sense for that was that we needed more good news. Our ways of getting together and getting good news were fewer and farther between. And what felt to me like good news was maybe things that I wouldn't have thought about that way before. So one of the things we did was in the fall we had a service called Remember and Grieve Together. And you just don't think of grief and good news in the same breath oftentimes. But in moments of grief, we need good news. The fact that we're in solidarity with God, who understands our sorrow, who accompanies us in our sadness. And so that was an evening of some good news. We had people who dropped in, and then the service was posted online, and many people have watched that. And people who are grieving with us but live out of state, or people who just weren't comfortable in showing up to anything in person at that point in time. They got a chance to hear that good news through that, which is on YouTube still. And then the other thing that came to my mind was the Advent Daily Devotion. We've been doing that for, give or take 10 years or so. And we've had consistently between 20 and 25 different people who write devotions, and actually what they are saying, if you think about it, as you enjoy their stories, but also they're testifying that even in the middle of some very unsettled and uncertain times, spiritual growth continues to happen. It may not be happening in the way that we would like it to be happening. It may not be happening in the settings that we would find familiar. But even when the sanctuary is closed, God is there and spiritual growth occurs. So those are the two things that I would like to lift up. Then I'll move.
Good morning. So I get to talk about one of our guiding principles about accept and welcome all people, which is kind of a fun one. And it was neat to think back over the year and think of all the ways that we've done that. And I think one of many things that we try new is Ashes on the Go. That has, for the last few years, brought in unique and welcome guests and some pretty neat personal experiences, I think, both for those who are administering the ashes and then also for those attending. And so Megan can tell you some of those stories, but I think that's a great outreach that we do. And again, it was just an idea that we tried, and it's just been really successful. I think the next thing that I kind of think of is our church camp out. You know, you don't think about bringing some people together just for a couple of nights as being much of anything, but it has really grown and blossomed over the years. I think we have a great gift in the wards who invite everyone up to their property, and they're such gracious hosts, and Penelope is a big part of that also. It takes many hands, but I think one of we loved the year we had as many four-legged friends as we did children, which was great. They greatly outnumbered the adults that were there, and we still had a great time. So, and then I think my other favorite part of that is always our Saturday evening potluck, where we have guests always. And then afterwards, we close with a fire and worship. And for those who watched it online last year, which was really fun, we even had a doe that joined us. So again, we welcome all. So then it took me forward. The next firelight I thought of was our other new worship that we tried this year, which was Longest Night. We all met on the patio out back for those who couldn't attend. We had a couple of fire pits, and some people brought some hot cider, which was a welcomed treat for us. And again, we had several guests that came to that who saw us online or saw it on our website. So that was really fun to meet new people and to invite them to our lives like that. And last but not least, I think we really have opened a huge door to a lot of folks with our new sound system and our ability to stream. Friends of ours that have moved away, I know, still join us online, which is fun to see. And especially our Christmas program this year. My folks were ones who attended, and my dad tried out the speakers, and you can't have a prouder moment as a mom than to have your dad hear your youngest son, "Mary, we're gonna have a baby." So to everyone who's been a part of that, and the last thing that I don't know if some people recognize, but we have moved some pews around to make some wheelchair seating that's a little more inclusionary, so that we can continue to invite others to our services. So thank you.
Our guiding principle today is witness our faith with words and action. Okay, some of the things that we do that help us with our witness of our faith is we work on things like Global Barnyard. People just can't go to a grocery store and buy a dozen eggs, in parts of the world. With a Global Barnyard, we can provide chickens, which they can raise to create an income so they can feed their families, they can feed other people through the eggs and the chicken. And that includes goats and cows and different things that we can use through the Global Barnyard. So we're helping people develop their own system to take care of themselves. We have a pantry here that when people come in need, we provide them enough food to get them through for like a week. So that's another way that we help out, is people bring in food and we can give it to other folks. We partnership up with West Middle School. We've done some clothing stuff, we've done some food stuff. We've also provided snacks and things for the teachers in the fall to help them get through rough times. But we've partnered with West, which has been really good for them. We provide Trinity New Hope with fruit baskets around Christmas to give people an example of what is good food, not just canned sugar. We're giving them fresh fruit. We do food boxes at Christmas and Thanksgiving to help families through maybe a rough time where they couldn't provide a meal for these celebrations. One of the things that I'm pretty tied into, and so is Renee, is school supplies for Duck Valley. We don't think it's a big deal, but when you have to drive 100 miles to 120 miles to get school supplies at an affordable cost, because they're expensive on the reservation, and then you start adding in the money for the driving and the time, it's quite a bit. And what we've been told by the principal of the school's wife, who works for Boise State, is these supplies help out with the families to create a better educational system so these kids are getting scholarships to go on. If you go back 40 years ago, kids didn't finish high school. They didn't go on to college. They just stayed on the reservation and did whatever it was they were going to do. But now they have the opportunities to go out, get an education, come back to the reservation to help out if they choose so. And that's been a good thing. Then another example was Crop Walk. You know, with Crop Walk, we take care of a couple local agencies in this area for food banks, but internationally, we're doing things like teaching people how to use better technology for farming that fits their country, or how to get water that you don't have to walk 10 miles to get to. So these are all examples of how we as Trinity have helped out with our words and actions. And I would encourage everybody to volunteer to help out, to pass out food baskets, to stock a shelf in a food pantry. So thank you.